welcome to today's session. This is the East African session where we're focusing on bridging the AI talent gap in Eastern Africa. So we are looking towards having a dynamic Pan-African conversation that's designed to bridge the AI skills gap through industry-academia collaboration. And today we're going to spotlight practical strategies that you can use to unlock equitable access to AI tools, to infrastructure, to learning opportunities, and especially in cases where there's underrepresentation and for marginalized groups within the AI ecosystem. And we are also hoping to learn from leading experts who can contribute to shaping actionable solutions for compute access, curriculum relevance, and also inclusive skills development. And we're hoping that in the long run, we can even build a community of practice where we're connecting academia, we're connecting professionals and people in international development towards growing Africa's AI capacity and innovation ecosystem. Yeah, right. So maybe as Dr. Shiko is coming in, Joshua, you could take us through the index. As I mentioned earlier, he's the author behind this tool that's being used continent-wide. And I'd like him to take us through the methodology and the approach that was used to develop the tool.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Elizabeth. Welcome, everybody. We're very happy to have you here. So allow me to share who we are and the index that we developed. There we go. So Elizabeth, you can confirm that I am sharing.
Yes.
Okay, Color. Color is a Zulu word, which means to launch, to provoke, to begin. It was founded in 2019 in Kenya by Dr. Shiko. She was studying in South Africa. That's the inspiration of the word. So how you pronounce it is Kala. I'm sure she will be joining us and she will help us to pronounce the Zulu word. So why are we here? Why have this workshop? So in 2023, when the whole AI buzz came along and everybody was talking about AI, we were like, we need to have African thinkers also in this wave that is that the whole world is going to. And we developed a paper. We came up with a paper called The Four Horsemen, made in Africa. So the reason why we chose the word Four Horsemen is so that we may show the gravity of the situation, why we Africans need to be involved in this conversation. And we came up with the Four Horsemen. These are the Four Horsemen that you're looking at: data and data systems, because data is the fuel for artificial intelligence; digital infrastructure and compute, because compute turns raw data into usable insights; talent, which is why this workshop is happening, is because we need a skilled talent pool to steer AI. This includes explainers, sustainers, trainers, and the actual AI engineers and trainers. Then the market, we need viable use cases and promotion activities to drive AI adoption. So these are the four horsemen that needs to be in place before we can talk about Africa rising up and even competing globally. So we need to develop these four horsemen for us to really become a big player. And that's why this the specific workshop is dealing on AI. So we had an AI talent readiness index, which we developed early this year. And these are the rankings that you can see. We had all the 54 countries ranked. And then, so the top 15 are here, as you can see. So allow me to take you to the actual index. So you can scan this, or you can type talentindex.ai for you to go straight into the index. Let me give you some time for you to go to the index. Okay, for those who have, this is what will come on your screen. This is the AI Talent Readiness Index. As you can see, we had 3 pillars on the top where my cursor is. So we had digital skills, now we had data and infrastructure, and we have government readiness. So these are the 3 pillars that we argue are indispensable for a talent pool to grow and to propel Africa to become a powerhouse in AI talent development. So we have one of the indicators is adult literacy. As you can see, we have ranked all the countries based on the adult literacy. We have advanced education. Again, we have ranked all the countries. ICT skills, STEM graduates, gig economics, developers per million population. How many developers are there? And again, we have ranked all the countries on developers per million population. And finally, number of institutions teaching AI and machine learning. And we have ranked the countries again. And then we have now Pillar 1 ranking. So you can see South Africa is leading in Pillar 1. And then we did the same for Pillar 2, which is data and infrastructure. We were looking at internet index, electricity access, mobile connectivity, data governance, digital trust, 3G coverage, software spending, and then here is the ranking for all the indicators in Pillar 2. And then finally, we had government readiness as the 3rd pillar. And then under government readiness, we had these indicators. Does a country have a national AI strategy? What is its data protection? What is its investment in tech? And then we ranked all the countries here. And then now we had the overall performance. How did all the countries fare, not only on the indicators, but also on the pillars? And then so this is the final AI Talent Readiness Index. So from whichever country you're joining us from, you can be able to see your country. So I'm going very fast because you can actually come here and download full report, and then you can key in your details, and then you can look at our methodology. You can read through the full report. So I welcome you. I welcome you to do just that, to download the full report and read it and send us your feedback. You can send us your feedback through research@kala.com. Because you're planning on developing this annually. So we will have an index of 2026. So we would love for you to read through our methodology, go through our pillars, the pillars that I have just taken you through, the digital skills pillar, and we can develop this together. So thank you for listening. So I'm going to hand it over back to Dr. Elizabeth.
Thank you, Joshua, and thank you for this amazing tool that that Kala has developed. So we have Dr. Shiko in the house. I'm going to give her a quick introduction and then allow her to give the opening remarks. So Dr. Shiko is a visionary CEO of Kala, which is a leading digital innovation company. She has a well-established background, having established Safaricom Alpha, which was Africa's first corporate innovation hub. And Dr. Shiko's passion is around influencing ICT companies, steering committees, and think tanks across Africa and across technology platforms. She holds a PhD and a Master of Science in Computer Science from the University of Cape Town in South Africa. And she loves to blend academic expertise with practical acumen. So we are honored to have you here, Dr. Shiko, and over to you for the opening remarks.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for so many of you joining this webinar. I'm really excited. I'm as a guest as you are, so I'm giving my kudos to Joshua and Elizabeth and the whole team who put this together. I'm really excited about this. So Joshua has done an amazing job in presenting the index. And the question that people ask why the index is, and maybe it is important for me to just take a couple of steps back and explain why the index is. We need to have a thriving AI ecosystem in Africa for us to actually participate in it. We know that Africa has, I mean, AI has the potential of contributing 2.9 billion. I read somewhere that has gone to 4.2 billion dollars by the end of 2030. That is 4 years from today, yeah? But in order to do that, we need some things in place. It will not just happen in a vacuum. We need to do this in a systematic manner, and some things have to be in place. And at Kala and across Africa, and you can see it was already adopted by the Africa conference that happened, summit that happened earlier this year during the African AI Declaration. We work across 5 pillars. Work around data, infrastructure, markets, talent, and governance. We know that it is important for us, and the core for that is talent. We know that we can have everything. We have lots of data sets. We can have lots of compute. We can have a great market that we have in Africa. It's 1.5 billion people, but we definitely need a talent pool. We cannot have Africa's AI being built anywhere else, yeah? We know that Africa's research only contributes less than 2% of the global research output in AI. And that there are many arguments for or against that. Right now, there's a deep learning in Daba happening out in Kigali. And there's a lot of research that's happening out there. But we need to document more, we need to research more, we need to publish more, and we need to talk more about our work. And our goal with the talent pillar is to ensure that Africa is known. Our 1.5 billion people, a majority which is 75%, which is young, is known to be producing AI, both at a research point of view, but also as a development point of view. We know that we are the future of work. By 2050, Africa will be 2.5 billion people. More than 51% of the workforce will be on the African continent. So we need to be able to be building talent for the world, for the globe. And for us, the talent index was to create a baseline for governments, policymakers, funders, anybody who is interested in this, to find a baseline to be able to invest in this space. And for us, that is important. Since we did a silent launch in April, and we've been making a little bit of noise in the last month, we've got a lot of feedback. There's some countries who've given us more feedback around their specific countries' data, what they're doing. There are things that they said we missed out on, which is amazing. It started a conversation. But what we are seeing is action. And one of the key actions that happened in July is the Africa AI Literacy Week, where we saw more than 1,400 teachers across the continent trained. And I always tell people 1,400 teachers is not small feat, because each of those teachers is touching at least another 100 students, right? And that's what we are saying, more than 1,000, we have at least, what is 1,300 times 100? It's 1.3 million, okay, I have done my maths wrong. At least 130,000 others, students who are being touched. So for us, it's that systemic approach to talent development we want to do. So for us, the index is beyond the index. It's showing where are we and where should we be going. We should move from that 2% to at least the 16% of the population that we are that we are representing the globe. We need to have people building, people learning, people picking up AI for themselves. So I'm really excited about this, and I want to be refreshing this. I know Joshua said every year. I want to be doing it every 6 months, because the ecosystem is changing really, really fast. So please give us your input, give us your feedback. We're really excited about you. We're really excited about the speakers. Thank you, Winnie. Thank you, Marcy and Pascal, and everybody who's joined. Really excited about potentially working with all of you to make Africa great again. Thank you so much, and have a lovely afternoon going forward.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shiku, for those warm remarks and for setting the pace for what needs to be done at the continent level. And yeah, happy to progress this conversation forward. So coming up next is the panel discussion. And so we'd like to welcome Happiness Maleko. She's a lecturer and a PhD candidate at Nelson Mandela African Institute of Science and Technology. And her focus is on AI in research and AI in academia. And then we also have the pleasure of having Winnie Karanu from Microsoft Kenya. She's the AI Skills Director at Microsoft Kenya, focused on AI upskilling initiatives like Microsoft Elevate. And then we have Pascal Mwele, who's the Director of Innovation and Change Management at Palladium, and who has extensive experience in AI with public health and systems thinking. Yeah, so happy to have you on board. And I'd like to start with you, Happiness. So your research focuses on AI-driven auditing systems for education data. So what ideas do you have around academia and industry collaboration, and specifically within the East African context?
Well, thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much. I hope I'm audible. Please confirm.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, thank you so much. As you said, my research focused on AI. I want to develop an AI tool that can be used to audit.
We've lost you. We've lost you.
Hello? Hello?
Okay, you're back. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. As I said before, my research focused on AI tool. I want to design an AI tool that can be used in auditing system. So when you think about AI as a driven auditing system for education, one thing is very clear, that academia and industry cannot move forward in isolation. So academic side should ensure this innovation are technical sound, which means that the research should meet a standard, like as we know that the research should be novel, should be original. These are things that is considered in academia. But not only in technical side, but also the ethical responsibility of deploying AI education is a part of academia. And as we all know that academia built knowledge, but industry is the engine that driven adoption and scaling it. Then without the industry partners, we do not have access to large scales. We do not have access to real world data. As you see in my research, I want to integrate academic industry in auditing system. So we need to have data from industry. So there is a relationship between the academia and industry, because we depend data from the industry. And also we depend the infrastructure from industry, as we expect that we can have the cloud platform of AI tools from industry, which will allow so this collaboration between academia and industry will allow innovation to move beyond lab and make sure that the solutions are practical, affordable, and usable. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much, Happy, for that comprehensive feedback. So over to you, Winnie, just on the same thread. I know that you worked on the Microsoft Elevate, which has been really important and critical towards AI upskilling. So wanted to find out from you, how can similar models be adapted or embedded within African universities so that they push forward the concept of sustainability? Over to you, Winnie.
Thank you. And thank you for having me today. I think our work under AI skilling, and we've done this for the last couple of years, but also just generally changing our strategy to a lot more depth and still depth and skill in how we engage. So we look at education, government, and civil society. And the reason we do that is because there's still quite a number of gaps when it comes to capacity. And if you look at capacity from universities, there's still a bit of lag when it comes to curriculum development, or even just keeping up with the based on the industry needs. And so what we look at is how do we support one, on the faculty skilling, how do we support either the lecturers to be able to better have the right capabilities and skills to teach, either in terms of integrating it in the teaching and learning, but also in terms of how we ensure that we can transfer that skills to the students, and not only just limited to computer science faculties, but more so in terms of broadly across all different faculties within the universities, to ensure everyone has the right level of skills and capacity. The other thing that we've done as well that you're working towards is credentialing. I think what we've realized is there's a level of I would say fatigue within the ecosystem, because I think everyone is kind of going through different types of skill set in terms of digital skilling. And I think there could be an opportunity for us to be able to harmonize what that credentialing look like, what are the key areas or competencies that everyone has to go through for them to be able to say that they're actually AI fluent, or at least AI, they have the right AI skilling depending on the level, and making sure that that is agreed upon industry-wide. So that helps in terms of being able to have that level of trust for the employers, but also at the same time, there's a bit more confidence in terms of the capabilities that the students are building as well. I think the other thing in terms of sustainability, I think what we've seen is that there's already a lot of people working towards the space, and I think there could be an opportunity for collective action. So PPPs are a great way to do so. So partnering with donors, I think we've seen, and we're working with different partnerships, like for example, GIZ and JICA already working on initiatives focusing on universities and building capacity for those universities. So bringing our efforts together where, industry can bring in infrastructure, knowledge, and then donors can bring in the infrastructure, maybe compute power, and really working towards other different types of sector players to be able to bring the best of everyone's capabilities to ensure that we can have a more concerted effort around how we have a more holistic approach when it comes to interventions in the space. So I think those are the main ones. I think the other bit that we could be important, and I've seen a gap, is on the research side. I think there is, as Shiko mentioned, there's still a bit of opportunity in terms of how we think about research. One, in terms of just forecasting what the opportunities are when it comes to AI skills, AI jobs, and leveraging the universities who already have research arms in the space and really supporting them in being able to do so. I remember I met someone from South Africa where they already have like an Impact Futures or some Institute of Futures or something like that, if I remember correctly. And what they focus on is actually focusing on the skills and capabilities that will be needed in the future and making sure that the university is adapting accordingly. So I think there could be an opportunity in terms of how we think about research, and how we ensure that that is also well funded within universities to ensure that they're actually supporting the industry and kind of bridging that gap between industry and academia. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Winnie, for that outlook on the upskilling and curriculum side. So on the practical side, Pascal, I know you have extensive experience in integrating AI into public health systems. So how could academia and also the industry and international development contribute towards creating context-specific AI solutions, both within health and within other critical sections?
Thank you very much, Dr. Elizabeth. Confirm please that you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so as you said, I'll come at this from a practical implementation standpoint. A couple of years ago, a project that was covering 23 countries in West Africa, covering all the ECOWAS states, the 15 West African ECOWAS states, and Eastern Africa, eight countries in the Eastern African region. And in that project, my responsibility and my team's responsibility was to basically use data for a specific public health use case, which was basically around building early warning systems for public health systems. And I remember during that time, the biggest challenge that we had was access to data. To me, that was a big barrier. accessing data. I think we spent quite a bit of time setting up the right governance structures, coming up with policy documents that allow for cross-border data sharing. And that took a large chunk of the time that we were running that project, that actually we didn't do substantive enough work to really showcase the potential for AI and machine learning at that time. I transitioned on to a project in Kenya. And when I arrived at this project, I was also leading the project. I found that there was data and we weren't using it, and we had access to it, and we had very clear data sharing agreements with the government, and we were providing technical support to the government. So what we did was we had a very clear use case that we were working on, which was also on public health support and also clinical decision support. We came up with a very clear use case, presented it to the ministry, got signed off on that. We started working with the users, and a few issues became apparent. One is that data is never structured the way you expect it for machine learning and AI. And there's a lot of work that you need to spend in data wrangling, right? So for those who are on the call, if you're looking at areas to plug in, I'm going to talk about certain areas of potential plug-in. So one is the data wrangling bit. So data that is coming from routine systems, so transactional systems, is normally not structured in a way that lends itself for building AI models. And that was the first heavy lift. The second heavy lift was, as we were developing the models, we needed to come up with a very clear impact-oriented use case that will make a very clear value proposition to the end users and the different stakeholders. So the next skill I want to talk about is UX and UI specialists, because you don't develop AI just for the sake of it or for the fun of it. You'd want to be solving a very clear and practical problem and provide a solution that is powered or augmented by AI. So that's what we did. We had very good strategy on user research to ensure that the use cases we were developing were addressing a specific need and that they were embedded within a clinical flow or an existing workflow. The third thing was now the engineering bit. That as you develop the model, you'll have a bit of challenge in ensuring that the model can be deployed in low resource settings that are offline first in certain settings, or you need to deploy it on a mobile phone, or you need to deploy it on a computer that does not have as much compute power. So for that, we had to ensure that our engineering was such that we could deploy the models in an environment that is low resource and offline first, connecting only when necessary, and so on and so forth. And then setting up feedback loops and the telemetry to be able to get insights that allow you to keep learning as new data is provided. So we did that. So the AI engineering bit, so there's the data engineering, then there's the AI engineering on how to deploy the models to ensure that they're useful at the front line or to the end user. Again, we got another bottleneck, which was a talent bottleneck. And for this, we had to partner with a local university in Kenya, Jomo Kenyatta University, whereby now we started running boot camps around coming up with very clear use cases that then the students could start working on. And that could ground use cases that, students in university could then use practical examples and get mentorship from industry on very practical use cases that they can work on. So we had competitions around that, boot camps and hackathons, then that just to address the talent side. So I come at this from a very holistic standpoint in terms of there is a lot that needs to line up well for AI to be utilized at scale. There's a lot that needs to be lined up well. I think the index the AI skilling index that you've shared is one that looks at this holistically and says talent is one component. What are the other components that are necessary to ensure that the skills come to bear, but also they grow within an existing ecosystem? Thank you, Doc.
Thank you so much, Pascal, for that rich insight on the practical side and how even our audience can plug in. So we actually had an event on Saturday where we brought in researchers and academia from various institutions. And one of the key things that came up was AI and ethics. So Happy, over to you. I'd like to find out from you. You have focused on academic integrity and transparency. What are some of the frameworks or policies that we could use or adapt to promote data privacy and to enhance AI innovation in education? And basically push forward the concept of ethical research within the academic space.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor, for this nice question. As we know that AI, it depends much in data because data is a fuel of AI. And AI in education, it depends on the access to rich data sets. As I said, for me, I'm dealing with research that integrate academic data and AI. So the data that I integrated is like a grade, attendance, online activities, and behavioral patterns, which is very sensitive if can be misused. And without a strong safeguard, this data can be misused, yes, and leading to privacy violation. So we need to have a clear policy that can be used to ensure that we protect our data. Example here in Tanzania, as I said, I come from Tanzania, we have a Personal Data Protection Act of 2022, which protect the data to ensure that the people who give data to maybe to researchers or an organization, their data are protected. But also we can find the way to minimization of data while we're dealing with research. As I said, if maybe for me, I'm dealing with developing an AI tool that can be used in issue of auditing. So I must strict to the purpose of data to the purpose of data collected. As example, maybe if I just deal in educational, I'm not concerned with others data, maybe like a gender or family issues data. So we should minimize the rate of taking data to ensure that we strict only to the purpose. But also, we should have an AI policy framework. And for Tanzania, we are still working in it to ensure that we have a proper policy because AI, it depends on data and we need also to protect our data effectively. So protecting data and enabling AI innovation are not a competing goal. They must go hand in hand. And in East Africa, I hope that we can build an AI system that are secure, trustful, and transformative for education. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much. Winnie, this is a gender question, and gender is a very important part of AI skilling. So I'd like to find out from you, what are some of the approaches that you found effective in bridging this AI gender gap, and how can even academic and industry partnership accelerate this progress? Over to you.
Thanks, Dr. Elizabeth. I think a couple of ways that we have tried to kind of address the gender gap. I would say one is our programs by default have a 50% participation for women. So making sure that we are having an equal participation in terms of ensuring women are able to access the training and opportunities that we have through the programs. I think the other way that we have also seen that works quite well is being able to have targeted participation, like programs for women. So we have partnerships where we've directly focused on building capabilities for women, like for example, in cybersecurity or in AI, and working with different partners to be able to do so. And so ensuring that we do have specialized programs. So one of the areas where we've done that has had good success has been actually in cybersecurity, where we've partnered with different institutions to really target on women, give them access to scholarships, also give them access to devices and grants to be able to ensure that they actually drive participation. One of the other key insights that actually we had in Nigeria, a different program that we were driving, I think culture is actually quite a bit of a factor when it comes to thinking about participation. So one of the areas I think we discovered as we were driving the program is that actually marketing, especially in Islam communities, marketing the program to men and ensuring that they understand the opportunities in terms of why the women should participate. Actually, it really helped into actually improving the enrollment rate for women, just because of once they understood the opportunities, then they would actually go and sell it to the women in their households that they should actually participate. So it's actually coming from them and getting that sponsorship from either their fathers or their brothers and uncles would really help us in actually making sure we can get that level of participation, but also support coming from their communities. Other areas, I think mentorship. I think we've seen that women, I think people participate once they see that actually it's possible. So another woman seeing another woman doing it, seeing that actually, oh, she did it, that's possible, then means that also potentially they can see themselves as actually an opportunity for them to do the same. So mentorship and networking has actually been quite effective. So really doing, we have a program called ADC Wins here in Microsoft ADC, where we engage with students from the universities and giving them mentorship in particular areas from career development, communication, to navigating the tech world, and kind of also thinking about what kind of capabilities or skill set they should be building in the space, I think has been quite useful. I think the other thing that we're just starting to do is in terms of promoting inclusive policies. I think we've seen quite a bit of opportunity in terms of thinking around what are the key challenges that women face and how can we address that. And so some of them, it could be in terms of simple, like for example, in terms of the access to devices or access to even just the money to be able to actually participate in a program. How do we work together with different partners to do so? So we've done a program with the Stand With Kenya Foundation, where they do provide devices and connectivity, and we provide the training so that we can be able to bridge that gap much faster, even for SMEs. So if you think about it from only just women, but also SMEs as well, kind of thinking what are the gaps and what are the area, or either when you think about particular kind of either discrimination that comes from institutional or systematic policies that already that kind of continue to drive that disparity, and how do we actually address those directly by driving some level of advocacy in those spaces. So I've seen a lot of work happening already with the ILO team, and I think partnering with them in terms of how we can continue to address some of these issues directly. But yeah, those are the areas, but I don't feel like we already have addressed all the different issues, but I think we're starting to see some progress in participation. Thank you.
That's amazing, and really happy to hear all the work that's being done around gender and around driving women towards using and adapting artificial intelligence. So with that in mind, we'd also like to welcome our fourth panelist. This is Dr. Tim Kamanu from University of Nairobi. Hi, Dr. Tim. So Dr. Tim brings over 20 years of expertise in mathematical modeling, and applications from diverse fields. He actually also has he's passionate about mentorship and is engaged in the Engage project, which I will allow him to speak a bit more about. So karibu sana, Dr. Tim.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wamisha. Pleasure to be here. Yes, as you said, we wear several hats. University of Nairobi. I had the division of data science, as well as a founder of actually a movement of young men and women who like to learn and experiment with real life data. We call it the DAS Club, which is also now a member of the Engage fraternity. Engage is a program that we seek to train around 1,000 girls and young women in data science. And Engage is an acronym. It means enabling girls in AI and growing the expertise in data science. So I think we are online and you can get to know about both DAS Club, the Division of Data Science, as well as Engage through social links and also our website. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daktari. We will ask you a few questions shortly, but I'd like to turn to Pascal. So we have a lot of push towards curriculum and research. But I'd like to find out from you, what do you think are the main barriers that you've observed when you're trying to translate academia and research into the practical real world setup? And how do you think industry can actually collaborate with academia to, to bring forth this theoretical research into real world application? To you, Pascal.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, from our implementation experience, we have indeed had a bit of a challenge in translating what comes out of research or from academia into industry. One of which is something that I had highlighted earlier. And I think Happiness mentioned that in most academic settings, you have very clean research data, very well managed, very well governed data from a research perspective, with very clear protocols of how to manage the data. But when it comes to implementation side, you have extremely, for lack of a better term, I'll use the word dirty data that needs a lot of wrangling for it to be usable and applicable in real life environment. So that's, to me, the data side has been not an insurmountable challenge, but a practical challenge that we've had to find a way of going around. The other is an awareness and skilling challenge, and especially just the mindset bit, whereby most people from academia will approach this from a very purely statistical perspective, almost from a purist standpoint. And when it comes to implementation, there are many things that you need to consider in the real life environment that needs a bit of a mindset shift, because it's almost like you're shifting from a waterfall approach of project implementation to a more iterative, more human-centered approach to coming up with a hypothesis, testing that hypothesis, and engaging with the users. So I found that we had to adjust both on our end as the implementers in industry and with our academia partners to find a meeting of minds in terms of how to approach the evolution of development and evolution of models. Just a mindset shift. I think the other one is around the explainability of models as you're developing models. ML for a long time is seen as a black box, and you just have outputs, you have inputs, you do the feature engineering and all that, but you really struggle to explain How did these features lead? First of all, how did you come up with these features out of the myriad of features out of the data that you received? How did you come up with these features, and how are you making certain predictions and so on and so forth? So I found that that was a big shift in terms of just working together with our academia partners to collaboratively then find a way to have model explainability and the models to be transparent. And yes, there are ways of ensuring that you are able to explain the outputs that come out of your models. I think another challenge is, I think from privacy and data protection standpoint, there are always a lot of concerns around use of personal identifiable information for training and or ensuring that there are no biases in your data, right? And for me, I think we benefited a lot from the academia side in terms of, how to handle data, how to do the anonymization, how to ensure that we are making the necessary safeguards to protect their privacy and ensure that, as we are managing the data, there is no leakage, but also to ensure that the data is representative enough that you don't have algorithmic biases or biases in the data being perpetrated all the way to the outcomes and the recommendations. So I think in my, I would say, 5 to 6 years of experience collaborating with academia in implementing real-world solutions, I would say that we've come a long way. It's still an industry that, or an area of study that needs a lot more collaboration between academia and industry. But there's still much more to be done especially in terms of just the mindset and approach of how to develop solutions. But also in terms of ensuring the right guardrails are set up in place right from the beginning, and that we're not just rushing to deploy, but we're also ensuring we have privacy at design stage and all the way through to deployment. I think from a research perspective, I think there's a bit more work that could be done. Maybe we can talk about that later. But within Africa settings, data paucity is a problem. How do you generate synthetic data to cover for lack of data, or to ensure that you're having robust models being developed in spite of the data not being representative enough for the populations that we serve in Eastern Africa or the rest of LMIC countries. But yeah, I think that would be an interesting area of research. Doc?
Thank you so much, Pascal. That's very insightful. Now, turning towards the academia side, Dr. Tim, drawing from your 20 years of experience in mathematical modeling, we're hearing that there's a drive towards having soft skills, as a primary set of foundational skills that are needed in the age of AI. So I'd like to get your opinion. Beyond just coding, what are some of the other skills that African data scientists need to master to be able to innovate and to implement relevant AI solutions in our continent? Over to you, Dr. Tim.
Yeah, thank you. I think there is quite a lot, skills that we need to nurture, as well as sort of retrain our current students. I say that because the way we package education in the past has been in a silo kind of setting. So we've actually been contributing to the same setup which leads us to think in a particular way, as Pascal said. So in that way, there's a big disconnect between industry as well as the academia. How do we frame our students? And again, then it comes to your question, what skills do they really need now, given that background? So the data science, AI, machine learning, they actually are context-free. Yeah, they're context-free. and they require us to think in a multidisciplinary environment, a multi-dimensional way for us to get their full value in this case, solving problems that exist within our societies. So back to your problem, I think we need to inculcate a culture of thinking and learning with data. And that's what actually we've been doing at Das Club. How do we stop using illustrations and textbook examples to handling actual real life data? Yeah, that's an area that we need to work on. We need to teach our students statistical and mathematical thinking. Why? Because for us to actually adopt AI models, some need to be reprogrammed to our context, the African context in this case. I give this example. When we're having driverless cars, models for driverless cars, they won't work as they are in Gikomba. There are obstacles everywhere. So the sensors will actually just stop. So how do we now redo the model in our context? Yeah, and that has to be done for us to realize the value. Or how do we develop traffic models? Yeah, knowing that in our context we can have a 3-lane road being used by 6 actually artificial lanes. Yeah, so those are things that are existing with us, and that's what we're trying to do. Then the big and I think the greatest gap is abstraction, problem abstraction. We rarely teach it, and sometimes we require acumen in the students to have it. How do we move a problem from where it sits to a setting in which we can abstract some mathematical theory and statistical theory and apply it to them, and then subsequently compute and adapt it to a setting? Then we'll not be users of algorithms, we'll be actually designers. And that's one way, and that's one big niche, whereas in the African context, we can really give back to even the world around us. There is critical thinking. We have not been focusing on that. And as Pascal also highlighted, we've been dealing with data analysis, but we've not been dealing with data engineering. Yeah, real life data is noisy, is dirty. It does not, and it varies from one discipline to the other. So you need also domain expertise to understand it. So critical thinking then now becomes a very good skill to untangle the murky data and put it in a structure where you can now adopt or apply existing algorithms, minus their data biases, minus the algorithmic biases, in our context, again, to solve and give value to the problems that we are talking about. Then obviously there is ethics. Ethics is everywhere, is a challenge, but that's a skill also, and an attribute which we cannot forget. As individuals, as society, we are struggling a lot with that. So how do we wrap that? And then we need to start telling, from a science perspective, we are very lame in storytelling. If you ask the artists, they are very good. But in the science perspective, we have not been developing that skill set. Telling stories and communicating to a wider array of disciplines and expertise towards gearing everything within the framework in which we are discussing today. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tim. So in line with that, Winnie, I'd like to find out what's your idea around access to AI tools, where we have equitable access to AI learning resources that can be used across industry, across academic institutions, and how tech companies can help accelerate that move. Over to you, Winnie.
Thank you. And I deeply resonate with what Pascal and Dr. Tim are talking about, because just from experience in the agriculture space, I do understand the dynamic in terms of just being able to not only just collecting data all the way to into actually being able to use it for different use cases. And I think just maybe kind of translating that from those different examples, some of the ways that we can think about is definitely in terms of how do we ensure that training is equitable. So I think in as much as possible, everyone can access the training that they need at the point that they need. And so we really work towards ensuring that we have that at no cost, and also available at on demand, which I think is quite critical in terms of as we think about ensuring that we are able to train as many people as possible. How do we ensure that we can be able to make it as easily accessible as possible? So I think that's one. Two, I think being able to partner, and I think a lot of the skill set that Dr. Tim mentioned are in the training. So from data analysis to software development to machine learning to also critical thinking. We have quite a number of skills in terms of human skills in the age of AI. So quite a number of those skills that he mentioned are actually quite critical as we think about how that multidisciplinary aspect and kind of bringing ideas from different areas, and also in terms of how do we come up with new ideas from the use of some of the use cases around AI. So one, access at no cost. Two, in terms of free certifications as well. We're really working towards making sure that whatever programs that we drive are accessible to all. And so, and also industry recognizable, so that also you can be able to, take it to an employer or take it to someone, and it actually is identified as, you actually built a skill set that is valuable. And then three, I think the aspect of compute and data, we cannot kind of remove it from the aspect. So I think making sure we can be able to build more partnerships with, and I think PPPs for infrastructure. I think one of the ways we're doing that is, of course, with the data center that we announced last year, in terms of the G42 and Government of Kenya and Microsoft coming together to be able to build a data center in the next couple of years, I think is critical. And I think we've seen that with other institutions kind of doing the same. I think that will be quite critical. I think the other bit in terms of infrastructure, I think partnering with government, I know they're working towards building all these digital hubs and digital centers. And so how do we leverage a lot of that infrastructure to be able to drive skilling in areas where it's marginalized from a connectivity or devices perspective, and making sure we can include as many people as possible. And then also in terms of connectivity, I think that's also still an area where we need to address. And one, it's even though it's it's available, it's not necessarily accessible to everyone. And so how do you make it affordable, but also as well, or at a subsidized cost, or even free? And so partnerships, Greek partnerships, for example, Microsoft has an Airband initiative that we work towards connecting schools and community centers for free, but also working with telcos to be able to see how we can zero rate some of our platforms to make sure that the access to the content is free of charge while you're accessing and getting trained, but also even how we deliver that training, I think, is also becoming a critical piece of it, right? So how do we make sure that the training is bite-sized, it's easily accessible, it's easily consumable, and I think we've seen, like the TikTok style of training is actually quite useful, or at least being able to reach as many people as possible, but also able to kind of deliver concepts in a very succinct but also very impactful way. I think also I would say partnerships. I think in all areas, I think one of the areas where we've seen, because there's so many people driving skilling, how do we work together in making sure we can address different gaps as much as possible. So I'm really excited about the ecosystem engagements that we are seeing across the region, like with the EAC and the GIZ partnership on the Alliance on AI skilling, for example. JICA is also putting together something, GIZ is also working on something, and all of them are actually working to make sure that all of us can work together to ensure that everyone brings the best to the table and can be able to do more together. So PPPs will continue to be a critical part of it. But I think as well, how do we ensure that we can harmonize some of this? I think, as I mentioned in my previous statements, I think there's a general frustration. And so how do we ensure that we're also not having people doing multiple trainings, multiple, kind of going to hunt for things? So how do we ensure that we can provide more, translate what skill sets are needed? What is a pathway that they need to go through to be able to actually access that skill set? And how do we ensure that we can take them through that journey over a period of time? So partnering definitely with universities will be a critical part of it in how to ensure that we can institutionalize and also build that capability over time. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Winnie. And you spoke about the critical role that government has. I know this is something that Pascal is very passionate about. So I'd like to ask you, Pascal, from your systems thinking perspective, what role do you think government would play in creating this enabling environment that Winnie has spoken about? And how do you think from an international development perspective that you can ensure access and regulation and fast track this partnership between government, academia, and industry? Over to you, Pascal.
Thank you. And that's the triple helix of innovation. The role of government, the role of private sector, and the role of academia. And it's near impossible for any innovation to really thrive without having the three playing in close harmony. But before I start, I think before I respond to that, there is a question on chat about why do we need the AIs to be explainable? And I'll use that to just break my response into two. So first, I think the role of academia in driving the agenda around ethics, privacy, and trust is critical. What guardrails should we have? What benchmarks should we have on matters related to privacy, ethical development of those models and use of those models, and trust? The short answer to the question around why we need explainable AI is so that then we can build trust in what those systems are, in what those models are giving us predictions. In our case, most of the times we use sharp analysis to present basically some means of providing transparency in terms of why were these features prioritized and why were they ranked in a certain order. So then that, as you engage with the different stakeholders, then you're building trust that what the model is doing is not causing harm, especially in mission critical systems, where, for instance, in the case of health, if you're using AI as part of your clinical decision support, you first want to make sure that you do no harm, right? And for a model to be approved to be used in a clinical context, for instance, you need to be able to audit it, and you need to be able to explain why certain recommendations are being made. And so for the first part of your question, I see the role of academia as really, really critical in helping to provide government with the tools to ensure that regulation is well grounded on evidence and that research backs whatever guardrails are put by government, so that the regulatory bodies then provide oversight based on strong research, and both from the science side and also from the engineering side. The other is, I think there's an important role that academia plays in providing the advisory oversight. And I think I've talked about auditability of the models, but also I think academia needs to play a very active role in terms of guiding the evolution of the space. So for instance, as new models are released, there's a critical component around research to ensure that as new models are released, they're not introducing new either new risks or new attack vectors, even from a cybersecurity standpoint. Providing new attack vectors that can compromise mission critical systems in different sectors. So I think that the triple helix of innovation is more critical in the context of the evolution of AI. In terms of government and the role that government plays, I think in many countries in Eastern Africa, we have very clear data protection laws and associated regulations, but not as much in terms of granular guidelines that guide the implementation and evolution of use of AI, right? In my experience, and I've had the privilege of helping to help to do the balance between protection and promotion of these emerging technologies, is that regulation should not just be from a standpoint of protection. It should also balance promotion of innovation. And in different sectors and in different countries, I've had the privilege of providing some inputs as to how it's not a zero-sum game. It's not either innovation at the expense of protection or protection at the expense of innovation. So I think in Eastern Africa, there is a good basis in law, especially for protection. There are good initiatives around promotion of innovation in AI, but then the translation of that into practical guidelines that then build incentive structures for innovation hubs and so on and so forth. I think that's the last mile that we are yet to cover, both in terms of looking at the infrastructure, the hard infrastructure. We're talking about power that, that power the data centers and so on and so forth, but also in the soft infrastructure in terms of the enabling policies and institutions that promote responsible use and scale up of AI. So I think, yes, innovation is near impossible if that harmony is not in place. But for me, I think it's just for us to close the last mile beyond the laws, beyond promotion of protection regulatory structures. What needs to be done is now turning that into action and ensuring that it's actually implementable, and there are incentives for small, medium enterprises, to individuals getting incentivized to develop these skills and apply them practically. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Pascal, for that. Over to you, Dr. Tim. You spoke about this briefly, about your passion for mentorship and also your role at the Engage project. So around mentorship and the fact that you're seeing that there's a growing need to mentor students, both at undergraduate and graduate level, what are some of the strategies that you're currently using, especially as you continue to nurture the next generation of AI research talent within this very dynamic academic landscape? Just to hear from you, what are some of the strategies that you're using to nurture and to mentor the next generation of researchers and AI experts?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I'm very passionate about that because somebody also was passionate to train me. I was trained and mentored under the African Union, under the African Institute of Mathematical Sciences, which is under the Next Einstein initiative. And we believe actually the next Einstein will be African. So, some of the things, probably the strategies that we are applying actually emanate from them. One is just making sure that we fit skill to passion, skill and passion. Yeah. So I think that's a very, very important thing, because eventually we have to get off the mode of, we must be driven not by profit, but by impact. I think that's also another level of harmony that Winnie and Pascal, we need to seek. Yeah, where do we help in sort of achieving harmony between impact that is very much required here to the profit that also must be justified to the equity holders of the big tech companies, of the private sector. What is it for the government? Yeah, Pascal mentioned the three levels that must work together. But then the other one is moving away from theoretical towards practical analysis. Yeah. So if you look at most of academic training in academic institutions, is really focused on textbook examples, and that's why we have a big disconnect between training and problem space. So in the training space and the problem space, we have completely different expectations. We expect students to really understand how actual problems exist and then solve. But we are capacity building them to look at very small niche perfect examples that can fit some assumptions for some models that we're illustrating, but they are not very applicable. And I'm sure most of us who've trained, you kind of feel like you're not so confident to actually partake real problem solving. So that's another strategy. The other one is focusing more on problem solving, yeah, research-oriented assignments, yeah, research-oriented assignments. Now, research-oriented assignments, as opposed to the traditional setting, is where instead of assessing an individual, we assess a group. Now, within the group setting, they have multiple skills and they bring in different expertise. In that way, we also reconfigure what I had said before, biases emanating from our silo mentality. So we work also, we help build team players rather than individualistic kind of work, which has been commonplace in traditional setting. There is also working with institution, and I think Winnie talked about partnership, collaboration. Yeah, so we are trying to make sure that the next generation of data scientists actually can be able to step up into environs that they are not comfortable with and start a conversation towards the skill set and the value that they can drive with either the private or public sector. Lastly, and this is something that we are doing at Engage, is that sometimes you have to stop the translocation of the problems and the problem solvers. By that I mean, sometimes we've been moving our candidates from where the problems come from and bringing them, let's say, to Nairobi, or moving them to the US, to the UK, yet They were born, they have lived with such problems, yeah. And that's why at Engage, although Engage is a collaboration between the University of Nairobi and University of California, San Francisco. We are not undertaking any trainings at the University of Nairobi, but we're actually working with regional universities across the country to make sure that the problem solver stays there and we capacity build them from their own locality to undertake the solution methods in their neighborhood and to again drive impact in their communities while they are interning with them. So that's one way I think which is quite unique about Engage, and is fully funded. And we pray, and we also are confident that might unlock or give us a lot of momentum into first freeing the data, because we're working with multiple partners, developing trust, which Pascal highlighted, which is very, very important. You can't have a relationship with even the private sector if you have not built on the trust environment, yeah, so that you can be able to communicate freely and share freely while remaining ethically on the spot. Thanks.
Thank you so much. So we are having a lot of questions coming in from the audience, and we're going to have a short interactive session where we'll speak to the audience and get their insights about today's session. So just as a parting shot, Happy, you can give us a parting shot, followed by Winnie, then Pascal and Tim, and then we'll hand over to the audience for a quick interactive session. Over to you, Happy.
Elizabeth, what I saw in this panel, what we discussed is very useful, and I'm ready to respond to any questions from panelists. So if there is any question or anything that I need to explain about, I'm ready to.
Thank you so much, Happy. And over to you, Winnie, for your parting shot.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the discussion. I think what kind of comes out quite clearly is maybe I'll refer to something we speak about a lot in Microsoft called the diffusion theory. And it's kind of a pyramid when you think about skilling, and the pyramid of, there has to be some level of AI fluency across that kind of goes into industry innovation and goes deeper into research and development. And then that's when we start seeing the benefits from innovation to economic prosperity and social prosperity. So I think the conversation kind of clearly shows that it is important that we get everyone skilled around AI and data in this case, and seeing how we can make sure that we can raise awareness for the need for these skills and capabilities across the nation and across the region as well. And so we as Microsoft are very committed. So I've shared some links there in terms of where you can get started today. We have some level of a skills assessment to know where you get started, but also some of the free courses that are available as well. And I'll be sharing more. We'll be updating some of our links as well to make sure that we can showcase some of the opportunities that are coming up with some of our partners as well. So yeah. AI is for everyone, so get skilled and tell a friend. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Winnie, and thanks for sharing the links. I'm already seeing a lot of interaction around that. So thank you so much. And over to you, Pascal, then Dr. Tim.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so for me, in terms of my reflections, I know I've really harped on the point around data. And the importance of ensuring that we build the right guardrails as we develop AI. I think to me, my overarching message is that AI is not just a hype. AI is not about the future. It's here with us. And with it comes certain risks, responsibilities, and opportunities. There's opportunity for really targeted collaboration across the academia, government, and industry players. With a focus that should be focused on positive impact for society that can lead to profit for the profit-seeking organizations, but also ensuring that there is positive impact for society. I think the other point that I would have wanted to make is that it's also important as we talk about data and access to data and ensuring that data is representative for our region, Eastern Africa. We also need to think about promoting the different types of AI models that could be availed to us. One is open source AI, where you have access to the training data and the model itself and the weights. There's open weights, which does not disclose the training data, but you have the weights available to you and you can deploy on-prem. And there's proprietary AI. And for all those different ones, then I think to Dr. Tim's point about training, if we have access to open source AI models, we have open weights and proprietary, and students can be exposed to this early and understand how to play around with them and ground them to real life scenarios. I think there would be a smoother transition from students, undergraduate and graduate students joining the workforce. And these skills are in very, very high demand. I earlier talked about the different areas that of interest from the engineering side to the science side, the research side. There is a lot of different skills that come to play to make a model, have the positive impact in society. So my encouragement is for all of us to keep upskilling, to become generalists and specialists at the same time. I think there's a lot more to learn. I think we've barely scratched the surface. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Pascal. Last but not least, Dr. Tim, over to you.
Yeah, so thanks, Carla, for organizing this. This is really great. Conversations around AI is a must right now because AI is here to stay, and AI will shift and change the way we think, the way we reason, the way we consume information, the way we decide. And if we have to be at the forefront of this transformation, and we have leverage for the same. I always tell my classes that, this is a very great opportunity right now, because unlike all the other sciences where we need heavy lifting, heavy equipping, you just need a computer and sometimes, or maybe even a laptop or a phone to start model building, teaching yourself, programming. It's a low resource with serious capacity and potential of innovation to all of us. But for us to do that, we mentioned, we have to really think about Africa data in African context, and we must avail it as in our individual spaces, and we must advocate for that. We must also advocate for ethical use of the same data to minimize the biases, because if we don't put out our data out there, the models are still going to be as reporting either historical based bias, or even they wouldn't be fitting to our context much more fairly. We need to think across disciplines, be more collaborative, and be more seeking for impact. And by seeking for impact, is just focusing on just solving our problems. How are the shares in Nairobi Stock Exchange? How are they trending? You know, what diseases are most prevalent in our society? How about crime in our neighborhoods? All these are things that AI can help unlock and will deliver. Are we aware of the seismic risks that we sit on? Yeah, so we should not expect investment in solving such kind of problems. Risk from earthquakes, risk from tsunamis. We should actually put our best foot forward as individuals, as institutions, and focus on our problems. In that way, we will also motivate funding, whether local, international, or even from the private sector, towards those. Let's be our own hummingbirds, birds in a small little way. And I think we will be in a better place with the conversations that we are having. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Happy, Dr. Tim, Pascal, and Winnie for agreeing to be a part of this panel. It's actually the first in a series that we're going to have covering the entire continent. And now we'd like to focus on the audience. And we have a short set of questions on Mentimeter. So I hope you can see my screen. Please let me know.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, you can access this through the QR code and also through the number at the top part of the screen. The first question is, when you hear artificial intelligence in Africa, what is the first word or phrase that comes to mind? Yes, we have a few responses, possibilities, untapped, annotation, self-driving, productivity. Yeah, so we have quite a variety of responses and different thoughts coming in. Basically shows the wide breadth that AI is currently taking up in our day-to-day lives. So we're seeing skills, data, opportunity, winning. Yeah. Some really good responses coming in. You can see the variety. So people are really thinking about the broad nature of artificial intelligence. Robotics, school, it's a new world. Yeah, so there's a lot of skilling and upskilling. There's opportunity and possibilities. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next question. So we've had a very rich discussion today from our panelists and also from our keynote. I'd like to ask the audience now, what new insights have you gained from today's discussion so far? What comes to mind? or what caught your attention from today's discussion? Yeah, so the need for African context data. There are so many opportunities for Africans who are willing to learn. As Dr. Tim said, you don't need too many resources to get started in learning about AI. The need for collaboration, yeah, across the triple helix, that's government, academia, industry. How AI can be biased because of data, data systems, AI governance and context, the sovereignty, data sovereign and AI and research. We need to also ask what needs to remain human, the human loop. Yeah, so we're getting a lot of responses. This is some really interesting insights here. Diffusion theory from Winnie, someone captured that. Also Joshua, someone captured the AI talent index. That learning is continuous, especially now, and getting skilled. It's amazing. Okay. The next set of questions is what new, moving on. So which areas should be prioritized for AI, government, academia, and industry collaboration? So you can actually align them in terms of priority. So if you feel that teacher and student training is most important, or if gender equity is most important. Okay, so most people feel that teacher and student training is important. There's a fight going on between affordable infrastructure and compute. Okay, that is really interesting. Let's give it some time. Okay, we still have a few more people putting in their thoughts. Still a tie between the first two. All right, so I think the final verdict is okay, affordable infrastructure and compute. Close second is teacher and student training, and then sector-specific AI. So really good thoughts coming in from there. This is an important question. What do you see as the biggest challenge to AI adoption in Africa? What do you see as the biggest challenge? Okay, compute power. So that's aligned with the previous question we had. Literacy, yes, also aligned with the previous question. Data, skill set, data seems to be the one that's data and infrastructure. Are we technically ready? The cost of infrastructure. Trust is also a big one. All right, so I think we have two leading contenders, three actually: skills, data, and infrastructure. All right. Yeah, still those three. And it's actually very closely aligned to the previous question we had. Very interesting. I'll just give it 1 more minute to see if anything else comes up in the word cloud. So yeah, literacy, compute power, skills, data, infrastructure. We have dirty data, education, Africanized data, knowledge application, government support. It's very insightful. Then ethical standards for AI. Ethics it's not going to leave us alone. So we wanted to find out from the audience, it is important for African institutions to set their own ethical standards for AI rather than adapt external ones. So immediately the scale is moving towards strongly agree. Let's see how that tug of war will conclude. So most of us feel that indeed we need to have our own ethical standards as African institutions. Yeah, so that, I mean, I don't think there's any way we can pull this back towards not agreeing. Most of us strongly agree. Yeah, so the work needs to start. We need to see how we can really create our own ethical standards, how we can have government, academia, and industry working together towards this. Okay, so strongly agree wins. I think there's no going back. So I think this is the last question. What policies or frameworks would you like to see in place to balance innovation and data protection? What policies or frameworks would you like to see in place to balance innovation and data protection? So policies around authenticity or authentic frameworks, I'm not sure. Creativity. Around financial services, developing innovative regulations, data strategy and governance, AI policy, open government, around copyrights, intellectual property would fall there as well. Policies around consumer protection, AI implementation guidelines. So we are getting some good responses. Now, this is something that came up during one of our sessions where most people are actually taking up humanities. We need more people around STEM and specifically data science, human-centered frameworks. Yeah, also, again, fintech and health-related projects. Okay. And yeah, that marks the end of our interactive session. We're a bit across time, so I will hand over to Mary to take us through 1 or 2 questions. Over to you, Mary.
Sorry, Mary, you're on mute.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Elizabeth, and our very able panelists. we'll just go ahead and say a very big Ali. Thank you. Asante sana. Merci beaucoup. Murakoze, Mwebale, Zikomo for the great insights that you have shared with us in this panel session. I mean, you've covered quite a bit touching on AI, skilling, upskilling and reskilling in Africa, matters touching on the ethical use. Of course, we've seen bias, trust being resounded over and over again. I mean, Pascal talked about the triple helix approach, which of course is also approach here at Kala, looking at different collaboration points between the industry, government or policy makers, and of course, academia. Then there's also the elements touching on infrastructure and compute. So I'm also glad to note that even the attendees and our guests were interacting quite a bit even on the chat, and a number of the questions have already been responded to. There are others who are reaching out to others to connect. For instance, I see Titus is asking whether he can connect with Gladys, which I think is a good thing because at Kala, we are equally an ecosystem builder. So I think that's great. I have skimmed through the questions, of course, in the interest of time. And I think there's only one question that has not been responded to, and this is the latest question from Gladys. So any of our able panelists can please feel free to just take this up briefly. And according Gladys' comment reads that we are actively engaging AI in the diaspora at work in diverse sectors. How can we collaborate or contribute to capacity building at home? And at home here, I believe is East Africa. Of course, Carla is already running the AI literacy programs, the different boot camps, the talent series, but also happy to hear from our panelists.
I think one way in which we can contribute is, as I said, being our own hummingbirds, contributing in our own small niche. If you are an AI specialist, plug in and look for partners, reach out, help out. If you can take up a partner, a mentorship role with any of our candidates, it might be your relative, that young boy or girl, kindly do so. Just let's do our small bit. If we have capacity of liberating some data sets that can help in understanding the framework in which we live, the better. If there is if you can be able to fund an entire program, kindly, let's step out and do it. Thanks, Carla, for that.
All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Tim, for the response. I think Winnie had also shared a link earlier on, even in terms of the funding opportunities that are available. So our dear attendees are free to interact with the different URLs that Winnie had shared to just gain more insights and different opportunities that are there. So we really thank you. We also did go through the different questions that we had requested earlier on. So we take cognizance of what Brenda, Paul, Susan, Brian, Marianne, Nelson, and the others had asked. And we are glad to note that all those questions have been responded to by our different and able panelists as the session was ongoing. So right now, I'll take the honor to introduce somebody who's very special to Kala. He's our in-house AI research advisor, and this is none other than Dr. Eric Mibaria, who's going to be giving us the closing remarks. So Dr. Mibaria is an AI research scientist whose focus is on responsible AI for economic markets. He dedicates his work to ensuring that these powerful technologies are developed and deployed responsibly to foster a more equitable future for all. His expertise is highly rooted in his PhD in computer science from the Harvard University, where his research titled Towards Positive Outcomes in the AI Economy addressed critical challenges like mitigating algorithmic coalition and enabling fair recourse. This work positions him as a leader in creating frameworks for AI to enhance societal welfare. So ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Daktari Eric Mibwari. Karibu sana Daktari.
Thank you, Mary.
Hello, Eric. Okay. As we wait for him to join, I'm just going through our webinar chat. Oh, Dennis is saying great questions and contributions. Everyone, glad to link up beyond the sessions. He's gone ahead and shared his LinkedIn profile. Please, let's feel free to link up with him. Natalie did comment, I have a strong HR consulting stock advisory background, would love to collaborate in this space. We need to think about AI plus HR very differently and to empower our professionals to go beyond the usual one-on-one conversations. Let us lead and not be led. Highly agree with you, Natalie. Even at Kala, we speak about not just being consumers, but we believe in the co-creating space. Part of the discussions that we even had on Saturday when we had we were hosting the academia fraternity within our office, and it was very clear that even the supervisor's role within academia is changing from just being supervisors to more of being mentors, even as the different researchers interact with the different AI tools. I see Dr. You're back. Over to you, Dr. Eric. Hello, Dr. Eric, can you hear us?
Yeah, he was back for a few minutes. Let's give him a few short seconds.
Okay. Maybe just to our panelists,
Yeah,
there was one.
He's back.
Sorry. Okay.
Hello, sorry I lost you. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, loud and clear. Go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I was thanking folks that on the panel, so thank you so much. I just commented on the fact that I already know Team Kamanu and Winnie Karanu, so it's good to see them back. I'm at the Deep Learning Indaba in Kigali, and a lot of what the panelists have said is what's resonating here for the next 3 days and the last two days. So you're on point to do this at a smaller scale within 2 hours. So mine is to thank all the panelists for making time on busy days in the middle of the week. Thank you, Winnie, for sharing what Microsoft and yourself are doing in AI skilling and highlighting that in spite of the hype and noise we see on media, social media, there are very many gaps in knowledge and understanding, even by critical people in government, in private sector. And thank you for bringing nuance as well to the discussion. For example, I like your example on having culturally aware approaches to gender inclusion. So for example, having Muslim men, brothers and sisters encourage their women as a way of really driving gender participation is a level of nuance sometimes we don't see in the West. But so thank you for that work. Pascal, good to meet you, to hear about your work at Palladium. And thank you for highlighting the guidance on the new type of practical skills needed, the data wrangling, the user interface design and engineering. So one thing I want to add to Pascal's list was the need for long-term investment in advanced graduate programs, masters and PhDs, so that we can further the mission of what Tim said, to become creators and not just consumers. and not even deployers. I think someone mentioned skills for deploying. I think we need skills for creating from scratch. Happy Maleko, good to meet you from Nelson Mandela University. Thank you for highlighting the need for ethical AI, such as that which is enabled by the Tanzania Data Protection Act. I'm glad to have this chance to show my appreciation to the panelists and to wrap up the discussion and to tell you that these topics are relevant everywhere on the continent. And I hope that the color team that made the index carry this work in the same way across the other regions of the continent. We also have an initiative at Color that I'm advising on for setting up a Pan-African research center. Team Kamanu knows this because we spoke about it. And why do we need this? Because less than 1% of global research publications come out of Africa compared to 18% of the population. For every a million people in Africa, we only have 20 health researchers compared to almost 300 in Europe, which means our healthcare suffers. I think Professor Kamanu spoke about the skills we need or how we need to change education by emphasizing abstraction, critical thinking, and storytelling. And there's probably no better way of learning abstraction, mathematical and statistical thinking, and than in a research initiative. So thank you, team, for highlighting that. And part of why Kala is driving at setting up this Pan-African Research Center is so that we can do this at a deep scientific level that is context aware. I think someone spoke about. So thank you to the panelists. We hope that you keep engaging with Kala as we build our initiatives around research. The research center, we have a scientific panel that should be Pan-African, will hopefully advise policy leaders and private industry leaders across the continent. So I'm glad to be given this chance to wrap up our discussions and to keep pushing all the good work that we're doing in Nairobi, in Tanzania. I saw folks joining from Sudan. Currently in Rwanda, we're talking about these things all week. And we hope that the participants on the call, I think we're almost 90, you carry this message, back to your workplaces, to your geographies, and to enable Africa become the leader it can be. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Daktari. And thank you very much to all our participants on the call. We are glad that you're able to stick with us, and let's keep the conversations going so that we can continue building the AI talent pool in East Africa and Africa by extension. Thank you very much. Feel free to drop off and continue engaging with us. Asanteni sana. We really appreciate all of you. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you and bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.